Listen to me closely, because this is the moment where everything begins to shift. You cannot change what you are unwilling to confront. The old you is not hiding in the shadows. It's sitting right in your lap, whispering excuses in your ear, rocking you to sleep with comfort and familiarity. The old you knows how to keep you stuck. The old you knows how to pacify you with someday and maybe, and I'll try. The old you knows how to disguise itself in good intention that never see action. And as long as you keep shaking hands with the old you, you'll never step into the fullness of who you were created to be. The prison you are living in isn't made of bricks and iron. It's built out of excuses, comfort zones, and the lies you've repeated to yourself until you started believing them. That old version of you has convinced you that the limitations you see are permanent. It has convinced you that where you are is all you'll ever be. It has convinced you that your past mistakes, your brokenness, and your failures are the ceiling to your future. But the truth is, the only power the old you has is the power you keep feeding it. You are the one sustaining it. You are the one keeping it alive by holding on to what was familiar, what was safe, what was predictable. Even when it is destroying you, you've got to stop making peace with the version of you that no longer serves your destiny. That voice that says, I can't. You've got to strangle at that voice that says, it's too late. You've got to silence it. That voice that says, you don't deserve better, you've got to shut it down. Because the longer you entertain that conversation, the more you empower the chains that are holding you back. You can't be polite with the old you. You can't negotiate with it. You can't bargain with it. You can't sit down and try to reason with it. You've got to kill it. And here's the hardest truth. Killing the old you feels like killing a part of yourself. It feels like betrayal because you've lived with that old version for so long that it feels like family. You've rehearsed those patterns, you've built a life around them, and now you're being asked to bury them. That's why people stay stuck. They confuse familiarity with safety. Just because it feels comfortable doesn't mean it's right for you. Just because you've gotten used to it doesn't mean it's good for you. Comfort is not always safety. Sometimes it is the most dangerous place you can be because it makes you tolerate mediocrity. You've got to confront the prison of familiarity. You've got to stand toe to toe with your excuses and say, no more. I will not let this version of me dictate my tomorrow. Because the old you is always whispering, stay here. It's easier here. No one will criticize you here. You won't fail here. But what it never tells you is that you won't grow here either. You won't expand here. You won't thrive here. You'll just survive. And surviving is not living. When you confront that prison, you start to see that the bars were never locked. The door was never closed. It was your own mind that told you you couldn't walk out. That's the deception of the old you. It convinces you that the cage is real when in fact the lock has already been broken. You've been free, but you've been too scared to step into it because freedom feels foreign when you've lived in chains too long. So here you are, standing in the middle of the war between who you used to be and who you are becoming. And you've got to decide, will you keep nurturing the old you? Will you keep feeding the version of yourself that is addicted to comfort, paralyzed by fear, and blinded by doubt? Or will you rise up with fire in your soul and declare, the old me dies tonight? Because make no mistake, until you kill the old you, the new you cannot live. They cannot coexist. One has to die for the other to survive. And the choice is yours. The old you doesn't just sit in your mind. It hides in the patterns you repeat day after day. The same conversations, the same choices, the same habits that keep you circling the same mountain, never moving forward. That's why you can wake up 5 years later, 10 years later, and realize you're still stuck in the same place, singing the same song, rehearsing the same pain. The old you survives because it thrives in cycles. If you never confront the cycle, you will never kill the old you. Think about it. You keep telling yourself, this time will be different, but then you fall back into the same routine. You say you want to change, but you keep walking with the same crowd, listening to the same voices, entertaining the same distractions. You want to step into your future, but you're dragging the baggage of your past with you. And the truth is, as long as the pattern remains unbroken, the old you will always rise again. Patterns are powerful because they feel natural. You don't even realize you're doing them half the time. It's like muscle memory of the soul. You've done it so long. You think it's just who you are, but let me tell you something. Just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's permanent. Just because it feels automatic doesn't mean it can't be broken. You've got to stop bowing down to the cycle. The old you has learned how to keep you bound by routine. That's why you wake up and reach for your phone before you reach for your purpose. That's why you keep answering calls from people who drain you instead of surrounding yourself with people who build you. That's why you keep putting your dreams on tomorrow's schedule, because procrastination has become your pattern. And every time you do it, you reinforce the old you and weaken the new you. But hear me, breaking patterns is not easy. It feels like ripping apart the very fabric of your identity. It feels like losing yourself, but in reality, you're finally finding yourself. The old you will scream, it will fight, it will throw tantrums, because cycles don't break quietly. They shake, they rattle, they resist. You'll hear voices in your head saying, just one more time, just this last time. You can quit later. That's not you talking. That's the cycle trying to seduce you back into captivity. If you want to kill the old you, you've got to do violence to the pattern. You've got to disrupt the rhythm of your excuses. You've got to change your environment, change your circle, change your daily habits. You can't pray for transformation but keep feeding the same cycle. You can't declare a new season but keep walking the same path. Change doesn't come by accident, it comes by force. You have to break what's been breaking you. And here's the secret: most people don't want to hear. Breaking patterns often means breaking relationships, because some of those cycles are tied to people who are comfortable with your dysfunction. They don't want you to change because your growth exposes their stagnation. They like the old you because the old you made them feel better about staying the same. But if you're serious about killing the old you, you've got to be willing to say goodbye to the people who are committed to keeping you stuck. That's why some of you feel torn, because part of you wants freedom, but part of you doesn't want to let go of who or what is chaining you. You can't have it both ways. You can't step into destiny while dancing with dysfunction. You've got to choose. Break the cycle or be broken by it. Let me tell you something else. When you finally break the pattern, it feels like chaos at first. You'll feel lost. You'll feel strange because your body and your mind have been trained for years to go one way, and suddenly you're forcing yourself to turn in another direction. But that chaos is not destruction, it's birth. That confusion is not failure, it's the sound of chains snapping. Don't run back to the old you just because freedom feels unfamiliar. Stand in it, stay in it, fight through it. When you begin to break those cycles, the old you starts gasping for air. It starts losing its grip. Every time you say no to that old habit, you're killing the old you. Every time you refuse to repeat that old behavior, you're weakening its hold. Every time you choose purpose over procrastination, discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, You're putting another nail in the coffin of who you used to be. But understand this, it won't die unless you make it die. Cycles don't fade away, they must be broken. Habits don't disappear, they must be replaced. The old you doesn't surrender, it must be executed. That's why you've got to wake up every day with determination in your spirit, with a resolve in your heart, and with fire in your eyes, declaring, this cycle ends with me, this pattern dies here. This version of me is finished, because until you break the pattern, the old you will always find a way back in. But if you break it, if you destroy the rhythm that sustained your weakness, then and only then can you rise into the new you. When you make the decision to kill the old you, you've got to understand that it's not just about letting something die. It's about making room for something new to live. Transformation is not polite. It is not gentle. It is not easy. It feels like being torn apart, because one part of you is dying while another part of you is being born. That is why so many people resist change. They want the glory of transformation without the pain of transition. But you cannot walk into your future wearing the garments of your past. You cannot step into a new identity while clinging to an old one. Something has to give. Something has to be buried for something greater to rise. The truth is, the old you served a purpose for a season. That version of you helped you survive, helped you get through certain struggles, helped you endure certain storms. But now it has become a weight instead of a wing. What once carried you now cages you. What once protected you now suffocates you. And the hardest thing to accept is that the very version of you that once saved you is now the version that's stopping you. You can't allow yesterday's survival tactics to destroy tomorrow's destiny. Birthing the new you is going to hurt. It's going to stretch you. It's going to pull things out of you that you didn't even know were inside. Just like a child is born through labor, the new you is birthed through struggle. There will be nights you feel like giving up. There will be days you feel like the old you is too strong to defeat. But hear me, the pain you feel is not a sign of death. It is a sign of birth. The struggle you feel is not punishment, it is preparation. You are shedding layers, you are breaking shells. You are stepping out of an old identity that cannot contain the greatness inside of you. And yes, it feels lonely because the old you had a crowd. The old you fit in with certain people, blended in with certain places, walked comfortably in certain environments. But the new you will not fit there. The new you is not called to walk with everyone you once walked with. The new you cannot be understood by people who only knew your old patterns. Don't be surprised when they say you've changed. Don't be surprised when they say you've become different. That's the whole point. You are not supposed to look like what you used to look like. You are not supposed to move like what you used to move like. That's the evidence that something new is being born. But birthing requires courage. You cannot keep tiptoeing back to what feels familiar every time the labor pains of transformation hit you. If you want to become, you must endure the process of unbecoming. You must strip off the layers of excuses, fears, and limitations that the old you wrapped itself in. You must peel back the false identity that told you you weren't good enough, that told you weren't strong enough, that told you weren't worthy of more. Every time you tear off another layer, you are revealing the version of yourself that has been hidden all along. And let me tell you, the new you is not a small upgrade of the old you. This isn't about polishing up old habits or putting fresh paint on a broken foundation. No, the new you is a resurrection. It is a rebirth. It is a version of yourself that you have never seen before, but one that has always been waiting inside of you. That's why the old you fights so hard to stay alive. It knows that if you ever step into your new identity, you will never go back. The new you walks differently. The new you speaks with authority. The new you doesn't bow to fear. The new you doesn't beg for validation. The new you doesn't settle for survival. The new you doesn't waste time proving yourself to people who never saw your worth. The new you is bold, confident, purposeful, and unshakable. But none of that can live until the old you dies. So you've got to push through the discomfort, push through the doubt, push through the whispers that say you're not ready, push through the weight of your past. Just like a woman in labor has to push through the pain to bring forth life, you have to push through the struggle to bring forth the new you. Don't stop just because it hurts. Don't quit just because it's hard. The pain is proof that something new is on the way. You are standing in the delivery room of your destiny, and you can either keep nursing the corpse of the old you, or you can push until the new you breathes. But you cannot do both. You cannot cling to who you were and become who you were meant to be. It's time to bury the old you so the new you can rise. The old you was built for survival. The old you knew how to make it through the storm, how to keep your head above water, how to endure just enough to get by. But hear me, survival is not the end goal. Survival is not your destiny. Survival is what you do when you don't yet know who you are. Survival is the space you occupy when you haven't discovered your power, when you haven't awakened to your purpose. Survival kept you alive, but purpose will cause you to live. There's a difference between breathing and living. There's a difference between existing and thriving. And if you don't kill the old you, you'll spend your life surviving when you were called to soar. The old you was content with just enough to pay the bills, just enough to make it through the week, just enough to keep people from talking about you, just enough to avoid failure. But you were not created for just enough. You were created for abundance, for overflow, for purpose that shakes the earth. You cannot keep living with a survival mentality and expect to walk into your destiny. Survival keeps you in cycles. Purpose breaks the cycle. Survival makes you play it safe. Purpose makes you take risks. Survival clings to what's familiar. Purpose demands that you step into the unknown. You've got to understand this. Living in purpose requires courage the old you never had, because the old you was too afraid of rejection, too afraid of failure, too afraid of what people might say. But the new you, the you that is rising, cannot be bound by those fears. The new you understands that rejection is redirection. The new you knows that failure is not the end, it's a teacher. The new you knows that people's opinions cannot define you when you've been called to something greater. And yes, stepping into purpose means losing some people. The old you kept relationships that were convenient. The old you stayed in places that were comfortable. The old you chose circles that celebrated your weakness because they were intimidated by your strength. But purpose has a way of separating you. Purpose will cut ties with anything and anyone that hinders your destiny. Don't cry over people who walk away when you choose to rise. Don't mourn the loss of circles that cannot handle your transformation, because purpose is not about pleasing people. It's about fulfilling destiny. The old you would do anything to fit in. The old you would shrink to make others comfortable. The old you would silence your voice just to avoid conflict. But the new you refuses to hide. The new you refuses to settle. The new you refuses to play small in rooms where you were designed to stand tall. The new you knows that you are not here by accident. You are here on assignment. You are here with a call. You are here with gifts and power that cannot be buried any longer. But let me warn you, purpose will cost you. It will cost you your comfort. It will cost you your excuses. It will cost you the luxury of blaming others for why you are where you are. Purpose demands responsibility. Purpose demands discipline. Purpose demands that you wake up every day and choose to move, even when it hurts, even when it's inconvenient, even when it feels like the easier thing would be to go back. That's why the old you cannot walk into purpose. It doesn't have the stamina. It doesn't have the mindset. It doesn't have the strength to carry the weight of destiny. You've been surviving long enough. You've been playing it safe long enough. You've been telling yourself, maybe next year, maybe one day, long enough. There comes a point where you've got to stop surviving and start living. There comes a moment where you've got to stop waiting and start moving. There comes a season where you've got to decide that the old you has expired and the new you is ready to emerge. Living in purpose means living with clarity. It means you stop wasting your energy on things that don't matter. It means you stop pouring into relationships that don't grow you. It means you stop investing time in distractions that keep you from your destiny. The new you is focused. The new you is intentional. The new you knows that every day is an opportunity to build, to grow, to become. And when you walk in that kind of clarity, doors open that you never thought possible. Opportunities align that you could never have orchestrated. Favor finds you in places you didn't even know your name was being mentioned. But it all begins with a choice to let the old you die, a choice to stop settling for survival and start pursuing purpose, a choice to rise above fear, above doubt, above excuses, and step boldly into the life you were created to live. Because survival is not your portion, purpose is. And it's time you live like it